I'm dating relationships coach and matchmaker Eric Leonard, and on today's video, I'm going to tell you 3 things that you should do when you're on a date and 3 things that you should avoid doing. This video is perfect if you have somewhere between no experience dating and then some experience dating. So the first thing that you need to do on dates in order to increase a successful outcome is to be emotional. Make sure you're expressing yourself emotionally. Now, I don't mean acting vulnerable and releasing negative or sad emotions, only the positive ones. What do I mean by being emotional? It simply means that the date is more than exchanging facts, than learning information about one another. Rather, it is exchanging emotions. You talk about things that make you happy, that naturally put a smile on your face, or even make you laugh a little bit as you reflect on them. The other person you are on the date with actually falls in love with you when they absorb those emotions, especially when it comes to the nonverbal front such as laughter and smiling. You also want to make sure that you are using excitatory language during the conversation. So if they tell you about a story from their past, maybe involving their childhood best friend, or even what they do for work, you don't merely just want to say, cool, that's great, yeah, wonderful. But you want to put a little enthusiasm to it, like, that sounds amazing. That sounds incredible that you got to grow up and have that experience. Okay, so use those excitatory words, inject emotion into the language itself. Remember, we are not treating the date like an interview. Contrary to what some people say, you do not want to treat the date like an interview. The date is so much more about just exchanging words in order to get to know one another. Make it a little bit more than just that Q&A. And how do we do that? Well, we share our emotional experiences, especially when it comes to like fun stories, things that we grew up with, favorite travel situations, anything that brings out positivity from you as you speak about it. The second thing you need to do when you are on dates is to ensure that you have excellent non-verbal communicators, such as body language and posture. Now, you probably already knew that you need to have good body language, but you might not be aware just how easy it is to let that slouch. So to speak, slouching itself is a big problem. We're burying our heads in our smartphones and computers all day. A lot of us have turtlenecks or slouching or slumping behavior. While that is something that you definitely do need to work on, I'm going to tell you a quick trick that you can do to fix that in the moment. Imagine that there are strings attached to the bottoms of your shoulder blades. And underneath those strings, someone is pulling down on them, which causes your shoulder blades to sink downward. If you do this, this is going to correct your posture, correct that turtleneck or that slouching behavior. You might find it easier to roll the shoulders back as you do it. Now, obviously, when you're actually on the date, you want to do this subtly. You don't want a big dramatic motion there, but slowly roll those shoulders back and pull down on the shoulder blade strings, and that will give you a quick fix to your posture, at least in the moment. And for when you're not on the date, make sure you hit the gym and you do some strength training exercise to increase those shoulder blade and arm muscles. This is a great one. Hold some weights while you're doing this up against a wall. You'll come out great. Are you smiling when you're on your dates? Obviously that's important, but again, a lot of people get very lazy with this. It's easy to forget to wear a smile. So say this magical word to force a natural smile on your face. Exponentially. Exponentially is the word. Try it right now. Say it out loud. Yes, it ended with a smile on your face when you said it. Did you notice that? Very natural way to smile. Now, while you may not just be able to utter this word out loud while you're on the date, you can still think it in your head and it will tend to transition down to your lips. I'm sure you're aware of how important it is to maintain eye contact with your date. The good news is you're allowed to take little pauses. Eye contact is kind of like breathing. It's okay to pause and take your breath sometimes. Of course, you don't want a forced, hard-locked stare like this the whole time. Wouldn't that be awkward? You want a relaxed eye contact. Okay, so it's okay to look away here and there as long as you're maintaining that about 80% of the time. If you're not great at eye contact, try this little trick where you look at just one of their eyes or maybe at the forehead. It really can help if you're shy about that. And since you already know you should be facing them with your eyes in your head, let me tell you something that might surprise you. A lot of people fail to look at their date, even when they think that they are. You see, you don't just need to look at your date with your head and your eyes, but you need to point your chest towards your date. Just like when I stand and talk to you like this, I may be looking at you with my head in my eyes, but something is just not quite connecting. If I go ahead and rotate my chest towards you, you get a much more welcoming connection from me. Okay, so make sure your chest is oriented towards your date, because I know you're smart enough to already believe that the eyes and the head ought to be, but you might not have realized your body itself has to be oriented too. And the third thing you ought to be doing on your dates is you ought to escalate the date. This means that you actively build up chemistry. That's right, chemistry is an active process. It doesn't just happen. You don't just get lucky with it. You need to drive it yourself. The concept of escalation simply posits that more intense things have to come after more basic comfort building things to start. So when you really want to drive up the chemistry in the date, you're actually going to have to start at the stage where you really build comfort and safety for your date. And that's whether you are a man or a woman. Now, how can you actually build rapport, trust, and safety on a date? Start by showing them that you're easy to have a conversation with. You're fun-loving. You're not afraid to laugh. Share those emotional tidbits about your life that will transfer onto the other person. This will help them to feel relaxed, like they're not under pressure to perform. Okay, that gives them that trust and that safety. You can escalate chemistry from there, bring it up to more playful, more teasy, more jokey levels. And let's not forget, non-verbally, you also need to escalate as well. That means touching. How do we just insert touch, though, without randomly poking at someone? How can we make that comfortable when we're not used to that? Let me give you my secret. Pair the words with the non-words. Okay, so pair the things you want to express with your mouth with the touch gesture. For example, you can touch your date in an appropriate area, such as the forearm or the upper arm, and you can say, hey, what did you say you did for work again? Or that sounds really amazing. I can't believe you got to travel there. That's incredible. Touching is much more comfortable when you combine the words with the touch gesture itself. Let us also not forget that your very first opportunity to touch your date is when you greet them with that nice, warm, welcoming hug. We don't want to shake hands because it's not a business meeting. We don't want to high five them because it's not two buddies getting together to go surfing. Nope, we want to greet them with a nice warm hug. The exception to that is, of course, if you feel you have some reason to believe that they might be more on the conservative side and that's not comfortable for them. You can always ask to clarify. Are you okay with hugs? I do it all the time. And when it comes to building up and escalating to that point of kissing, if you are just not sure if your date can take a kiss the first time on the lips, start with the cheek. It's usually a little bit easier for you to command yourself to kiss them on the cheek if you're shy or nervous. And generally speaking, a kiss to the cheek is seen as sweet, warm, not likely to offend anybody, very rarely anyway. So that is a great place to start it, to tell them, hey, thank you for coming out to meet me tonight. I had a wonderful time. You gave me your time and energy, and I really appreciate that. Cheek kiss. If it's well received, you can always roll it into a lip kiss from there now that they're warmed up. And if not, go home and try it on date number 2 maybe.